Women, especially mothers who don't center other people, get punished ruthlessly. I want to talk about this. If you haven't seen the Golden Bachelor, it doesn't matter. I'm going to recap. Even though I talk a lot about decentering men, something I also talk about is women centering themselves. And I feel like mothers are held to the most ridiculous standards in terms of like never being able to do anything for themselves. Like never. As much as I hate that she missed her daughter's wedding to be on The Bachelor, I actually love that she centered herself. And I'm going to get into it in a second. But let's first compare it to the other women. So first there was Marina. We don't know where Marina went. She just disappeared. And people were worried, like, where's Marina? I was so curious to get to know her. Honestly, y'all, I am not a Bachelor Nation person. But since I talk a lot about men trying to find hospice wives, I thought I should watch this. Why was she not there? Unexpected family situation. Of course, I'm not judging her for going home. It says a lot about how important family is to women. Unlike a lot of men who don't even raise their children, much less sacrifice anything for them. If anything, are more of a threat to their children and their wife's livelihood than anything. King baby who's stressed all the time, drunk, gone doing his hobbies or whatever it is. So, of course, mothers, 2 women would leave the show to go help their children. Because that's what mothers do. It doesn't matter where my mother is. She always answers that phone. I am fascinated by it. She will be in the bathtub and answer, and I'm like, Mom, no. I also have a special place in my heart for single moms, having been raised by a single mom. So Marina was a single mom. She says, I'm a single mom. I had to choose my family. And of course, the Golden Bachelor was like, yeah, commitment to family overrides just about everything else. When men say stuff like that, I'm like, yeah. I want to hear what your wife has to say about that. Of course, we can't because she's gone. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. He seems like a nice man. Just saying. I side eyes every dad. And I think she summarizes it well here. Leaving the show was difficult. Choosing family was not. I think a lot of women would feel the same, really conflicted. So then there was another woman who left the show. She was on there longer. Look at this headline. Grandma duties versus Golden Bachelor. So I guess Joan's daughter had a baby 15 days before her. Look at this heartbreaking quote. For the first time in my life, I thought I am really going to do something for myself. I hate that. And yet I absolutely believe it. I believe that the Golden Bachelor may have been the first time that she has centered herself since, having children. I forget her backstory, but probably since getting married or even dating whoever she had children with. For the longest time, women have prided themselves on being so giving and showing up and being loyal and centering their family and centering everyone else because they had no choice. Because men, first of all, wouldn't let us have money or control over our reproduction or all that stuff. But most importantly, because they wouldn't do it. They still won't do it. They still try to get away with doing the least amount possible unless they are actively working on unlearning that entitlement and all their daddy issues and all their abandonment that their dads left them with. So women they just do it. They just do it. Every mother I know, their default is to sacrifice themselves. As if almost dying wasn't enough. Every time they had a child, almost dying, because giving birth is like the most dangerous thing a woman can do. Birth trauma changes women forever. And most don't just bounce back. Some of them almost die. Some of them piss their pants for the rest of their lives because after the 4th trimester, whatever you call, isn't even thought of. Aftercare, the pelvic floor, all that crap. Most of the women I know in the United States are pissing themselves all the time after they have children because we don't care about mothers at all. We worship them and crap on them at the same time, and I hate it. So I feel very oddly protective of older women, especially women who raise children all by themselves, either because their husbands left them or because their husbands sucked. I want them to have their best lives. Of course, 2 women went home, and I'm not judging that decision. If that is what they needed to do and wanted to do, which I believe it is, I'm so happy for them. But what I don't like is the way we compare them to Sandra. I love Sandra. I think she's hilarious. She's age appropriate. Some of these other women are 60. And Golden Bachelor, he doesn't look like this. He is 70 something. Like, the Photoshop is so ridiculous on this show. But there's article after article after article. I'm only going to pull up a few of like over a dozen being like, and then people don't like Sandra. And I actually get it because they're like, oh, she chose a man she doesn't even know that she's fighting over her daughter. I get it because it sounds like she's centering men. And she is, but she's centering herself. She did what she wanted to do. She has no regrets. And she told the whole side of the story that, of course, they edited out of The Bachelor because they want us talking about her. They want us to judge her and start an argument online being like, no, she should have been at the wedding. So first of all, both her daughter and her son-in-law pushed her to not come to their wedding. My son-in-law said, Mom, a ceremony is 8 minutes. Our marriage is for a lifetime. Go. And then her daughter's response was, Mom, I've got my guy. You go get yours. And they thought that the thought of her not going and meeting Jerry, because, the application process for all this, it's a big deal to get on one of these shows. I'm sure she did not know ahead of time when they were shooting. I am sure of that fact. I was on a reality TV show for National Geographic. My friends cast these kinds of shows. There's no way she knew that it was going to be, you know what I mean? They oftentimes apply for these shows like 2 years in advance. But the way, and of course this is the Sun, I hate the Sun. The way they frame this, I mean, look at his face. Look at this title. Sandra's red flag and selfish behavior. And honestly, I actually don't like the way he handled it. He's like, hey, we need to talk about something. Like, what? You want to tell me about what the deal? I heard that you're missing your daughter's wedding. I mean, he wasn't being a jerk. I can understand why he would be concerned about that. But then they have a whole scene where he's like, I tell you what, let's call them together. As if that's his idea. No, the way they framed it was like, oh, this selfish mom needed to be reminded by the Golden Bachelor who has all these women to choose from that even he knows that she should probably call her daughter on the wedding day. It's just so annoying, y'all. And of course, people on Twitter, on Reddit, Facebook, all these things were they all had opinions. I get wanting to find love, but what about love she has for her daughter? He seems like the type of man who really values family. She actually seemed proud of it, the fact that she missed her daughter's wedding. Yeah, you know what? It sounds like he does value family. Until you show me receipts that man was cleaning dishes and changing diapers and stuff. Men love being like, I'm a good dad, and do nothing. We know, especially if she has a good relationship with her daughter, she was probably a very present mother. I know we're speculating about all this. I know we don't know them, but I don't like the criticism I'm seeing of her. I get it, because it seems like she's centering men, but most importantly, she's centering herself and not being like the martyr that moms are always expected to be. I also love that she was one of the only people who openly talked about her schmegs life without any shame. Talked about having, very active schmegs life. Her and her husband, my husband did it everywhere. I love that. I love older women talking about that. That's why I love Grace and Frankie. If you haven't watched that show, I love it. She had to eat ice cream so many times she got sick because she's lactose intolerant. I love her honesty. I love that she says the F word. I love that. I love that she embarrassed him with the F word. This is the kind of grandma I want. One of the things I realized is that because of what my dad did, his selfish behavior, my mom had to raise me and my sister all by herself. It's not what she signed up for, but that's what she got. And honestly, he did us a favor because I would not be the woman I am if I had grown up with that man in my house. But once I left home, my mom was DONE done. She's still my mom. She didn't date while me and my sister, while she was raising us. And y'all know I've made videos about that. So many men, so many predators marry single moms to get access to their children. My mom has had a whole new life once we were gone. And I really admire her for that. She's on this big old adventure. And a lot of women never get that opportunity until their husbands die. And I've talked about that in my Harper's Bazaar piece. This one right here. It wasn't until their kids were grown and their husband died that they could have a life. I want moms to be able to have their own life now. Pour into themselves now. But men make that so hard.